Start your own radio show now and join our amazing radio family of fun and interesting talent. Be the radio star you've always wanted to be. Visit latalkradio.com or email info@latalkradio.com now and start your own show today.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. Alan, are you on?
Yes, can you hear me, Keith?
I am.
Beautiful.
Our guest is calling in right now.
Great.
Hello, Larry, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Larry.
Hi, Larry.
Welcome to the show, buddy. This is this is Alan Lee, the trusty co-host, and I'm Keith Reza.
So glad to have you, Larry.
Well, hi, Alan. Hi, Keith.
We just started the show, so I haven't gotten to introduce you yet. But so we're just going to introduce. What's this?
Do your stuff.
Okay.
You know what Larry's saying?
And I'll be right here.
Beautiful. It's like that commercial. You're killing me, Larry. He's saying that about us.
I was asked to do those ads and be a spokesman.
Oh, really?
For sit and sleep mattresses. Those ads.
That's fun.
Oh, you should.
And do you know why?
Because of your name?
Well, the owner is named Larry Miller.
Oh.
And I went in to get a mattress. My wife said, "Why don't you go to sit and sleep?" At that point, because the owner is Larry Miller, and I said, "You know what? That's a terrific idea." I don't know if either of you guys are married yet, but that's a very good married response of something that's a terrific idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those commercials would be way better too because you're the funniest guy, and.
I think so too, though. But I think I like them a lot.
Yeah.
And I went down there and met Larry. I just liked him a lot, and it didn't work out. He said it was very nice, and he said, "I'd like you to do the sit and sleep commercials and be this and that." And I said, "Well, that's terrific, And but we never got a deal made. And but I like the guy. I'd do it anytime.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an interesting.
I can imagine the introduction. It's like, "Hi, I'm Larry Miller. Hi, I'm Larry Miller."
No, that doesn't happen to us.
Yes, and then it goes immediately into a fist fight.
Well, we should
but not even a moment of maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Right into a fist fight.
Battling Larrys.
Well, we should probably give you a proper introduction real fast.
Indeed, sir.
Our guest tonight on Reza Riffs is the great Larry Miller. You've seen him on hit movies like Pretty Woman, 10 Things I Hate About You, Princess Diaries, Get Smart, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The great Larry Miller.
Yay!
He called before the show. Hey, Larry, how are you?
Hey, Larry.
Well, it's just actually terrific. I had a great show business day, and I think your listeners might enjoy knowing about this. What does a great day in show business mean? Sometimes, and because by the way, I just got a part in another movie, and I'm very glad about it. And I'll be leaving in a few days for it. It was going to be originally Bob Balaban, the great Bob Balaban, was cast in it, and it turns out he couldn't do it, so I was number 2, I guess, and they called me and said, they called my manager and said, "Hey, would Larry like to do this?" And the answer was, Larry would.
Fantastic.
And so, but you know what? The truth is with show business, so on this, day to read a script that you've already been offered. I mean, folks, this is really something. Yeah. And then to have a meeting with people on something else that I'm writing, and then I went to. We have some kids, and in our family here, we have some kids. It sounded like a stupid way to say it, but it's not. And then I went out to. My wife got home. She's in show business too. We're a show business family. She's executive producer of the show KC Undercover. and she's a great writer-producer. And I went to a Chinese restaurant for dinner, just myself, and then I came back to talk to you guys and be on your show. And to me, that's a great day in show business.
Oh,
fantastic.
I totally agree. I think the best part of the day is you got a part in a movie.
That's great. Congratulations. Fantastic.
Thank you. And you know what? You're right. I love these things. This business. I'm a comedian and a writer and an actor, and I love them all. I was made for them all.
Yeah.
And it's pretty neat when, folks making a movie say to themselves, how about Larry for this? And that's pretty neat.
That's fantastic.
Now, Larry, I had this was the first question I was going to ask you, and I kind of already broke the rule. But I was always taught growing up to call people you really respect like by their name. So I was going to call you Mr. Johnson, because you are actually one of my favorite comics ever and one of my comic influences. But do you prefer to be called Larry or Mr. Johnson? Because I want to be like totally proper to you, and I don't want to lose your respect.
Well, I think...
I mean, Larry Miller.
Oh, I had a joke right there.
I'm sorry. I didn't know where you were going with that. I was befuddled.
No. I used Johnson because Johnson, but I wanted to use an example.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know if you forgot our guest's name.
I know why you used it, and it was good.
That's great.
That's the whole thing about living and working with comics. Something has got to be coming all the time. And, if you're on a talk show, whether it's a Tonight Show or anything else, the guest on before you or after you never interrupts and then says, hey, by the way, are those new shoes? And because something is coming right around the bend.
Sure.
In any case, that's very sweet to say those nice things, and it means a lot to me because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I will never stop loving everyone in show business, getting a terrific kick out of this. It just popped into my head. This one of Leslie Nielsen has passed away, of course.
Leslie
Nielsen. Excuse me, been a couple of years, I guess, and. Boy, he was always great as a dramatic actor, a handsome leading man. And then, as everyone knows, or ought to know, then, in the second half of his life and career, he became the funniest man in show business. And I was on the Letterman show with him. This is a few years ago, I guess, or 5-7 years ago, something like that. And my parents, I grew up in New York and was born in New York, and my parents came to the show at NBC there at Rockefeller Center, and they came and with me, and I love my folks, and then they go to the show and be in the dressing room, and I saw Leslie Nielsen standing in the hallway there, right outside, between the green room and hair and makeup, and I always adored the guy, and I had never met the guy. My parents were always the same as that, as me, just, really good people who wanted to say hello. And what I didn't know was Leslie Nielsen, maybe very few people may know this, or some of the folks out there may know this, but he always had a really wicked, wild sense of humor.
Yeah.
And in every time, every second of every day, but I mean every second of every day, he always carried a little fart sound making machine. And I mean, it was one of those plasticky things with a slice in it, a hole in it or something.
Right.
And this guy was a virtuoso. This guy was like the Vladimir Horowitz of the fart sound machine. And he never, ever didn't have that with him. Anyone, a movie set, a TV, none of it. Always had it with him, and he would always, no matter what conversation he started, I went over and to say hello and with my folks, and he was, that thing, Nielsen did so well. He was just gracious and just said, oh, well, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad we're on the show. And he said that he turned to my parents and just said, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, I have to tell you something. It's very rare in show business to meet a talent as great as your son. And he started talking like that. Excuse me. And then about 5-6 seconds in, he had his hands clasped in front of him and this thing in his hands. And so about 5 seconds into speaking to them, he squeezed it a certain way. He was, I'm telling you, he was a master at it, and he always followed each sound with just saying to the people, he always just said, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And then he would just keep talking. And he would say, in show business, to meet someone with the greatest virtues, sure, like your son, and I'm telling you, and my parents are always, funny people, and they weren't thrown by anything. And after about the third one, because, the first few, you start to think to yourself, what in the world is going on here? And fellas, I'm telling you that he just kept doing it and talking in the most sincere, gracious way, and then go, and I mean, I'm telling you, he could do 12, 15 different sounds, and they all sounded only like one thing. Yeah. That thing.
Sure.
It could not be mistaken for anything else, and he kept following everyone with a different version of, oh, please forgive me, it must be something on the 8th floor here. And then he'd go back to talking, and he never stopped, and about 5 or 6 of them in, he kept going, and we're in the hallway, and my parents and I'm telling you, were crying. We were laughing so hard. And he just didn't stop. And it must have gone on for another 2 or 3 minutes because we were too physically and weak and emotionally destroyed because he was so funny with it. And God bless him, he would just stand there and go right back in the same structure, making a different sound and then a different apology. Oh, that's gracious. I've spoken to doctors about that, but they don't know what to do. And I'm telling you, and then I had to go into makeup or something, which is lucky because I was crying. I'd been laughing so hard, and you and I and anyone, all comics, know something about laughter. Yeah. But I'm telling you, this is on the list of the 2 or 3 most hysterical moments of life. And by the way, there was no wrap up to it.
Yeah.
There was no. He was very sweet, and he always had a nice smile. But there was never any sense of. Well, I hope you didn't mind that. Mind that. It was great. There was zero wrap up to it. And my parents were also, they had to sit down in the green room because I'm telling you, we were weak. We couldn't take any more standing because we had just been laughing so much.
Oh, that's a hilarious story.
Wow, that's hilarious.
So, Mr. Miller, do you prefer to be called Mr. Miller or Larry?
Oh, well, I guess that's typical for comedy, too. You give a 12-minute answer to a question. It's very sweet of you to say that or to ask, but of course, we're just, well, come on now. Yeah. We're Larry and friends. We're brothers in comedy here.
Right, yeah. Well, no, I didn't mean any disrespect. I just the first name that came out was Johnson. I know your name, but, like, I was giving an example. Like, I love you, Larry Miller. Like, that's what I'm saying. But,
and you know what? Thank you. It's believe me, if your head is screwed on straight in show business, and believe me, folks, that's a big if. Yeah. But if your head is screwed on straight in show business, yeah, you dig what everybody does, and any way they come out with something. I mean, for crying out loud, whether it's the great Leslie Nielsen doing that bit, or any of us, And I don't think I've done bits before taping a talk show. I don't think, whatever, if you want to call that a bit, but I'm telling you, this guy was the funniest man on earth when he was doing that.
Yeah, I wish I would have met him because I would have loved for him to do that to my family. Like,
it was unbelievable.
yeah, give my family a sense of humor. You know what I mean? Like,
really break the ice in the family.
But Larry, there's something I wanted to ask you. Is your comedy style is so unique that it seems like there's a few comedians nowadays that try and take that style, but no one really hits it. Like, for example, your 5 days of drinking joke.
I love that structure in that. The way that was amazing.
Yeah, but it was like
thanks, folks.
It was like one joke compared to 30 jokes, and then another one joke compared to 30 jokes.
It's cool.
Yeah,
he says it's cool.
It's cool.
We're talking about that.
So, like, a lot of comics don't take that style, and when they do, they totally butcher it. Like that's like you're the father of that type of humor, you know, because only you pulled it off. Like, that feels. Like, does that make you feel good that comics are trying to do that style?
You know what? First of all, I know what you're getting at, and what makes me feel good is that I can do that style, and that people like you guys appreciate it.
Yeah.
And everyone out there in audiences, in theaters and clubs all over America.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. You know, those essentially that kind of foundation from college. By the way, our oldest son is a Marine. He didn't want to go to college. He had straight A's, and he was a national athlete. And I adore him. I love him. But you know, he's the greatest. And he didn't want to go to college. And he said, "I want to be a Marine."
Wow!
Yeah,
and
Semper Fi.
He's. Well, he is too. By the way, he's already served in the Middle East.
Fantastic!
Wow.
And he's somewhere. He's deployed somewhere else now. And I can't take you where. I can't tell you where. That may sound goofy, but
no,
the
I
commander
totally understand.
asked me not to say things about where he is. It's something about
Of course.
if your dad's in show business or your mom's in show business, they don't want to just release where you are.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
And but his senior year in high school, when he sat us down, my wife and me, and he wanted to just talk about. Yeah, he's going to join the Marines. He wants to be a Marine, and my wife said, a typical parents' question, which is a good one. Of what about college? Don't you could join college and. I'm sure you can hear those dogs barking, by the way.
Yes.
It's part of the story.
Well, that's the way doggies are. There's one. I just love one, and my wife loves the other, and the other one loves my wife, and that's all I'm going to say about her. But my son sat us down there, and he was. 17 years old and a senior in high school, and he was saying he wants to be a Marine, and he says to me, "Well, Dad," and of course we're as proud as we could be about him, and he said to me, though, after my wife said, "What about college?" He said, "Well, Dad, you love going to your college, and your friends are all really close, and you guys are all still good friends, and I know you had some good times there. Could you tell me one or two stories? Maybe that makes me think about college more." And I was thrilled. Yes, that I just looked at my wife with a smile, because I have the greatest stories in the history of college.
Yeah,
my stories are frightening. They're so good, and I just knew. I said, and my wife knows that too. And I said, "I'm glad you asked." Well, and I figure I'll tell a story or two, and he'll sign right up at any school that'll take him. And so I said, all right, let's see. And I go through the card catalog in my head, and there are about 15, 20 just shatteringly good stories. And I picked one. I said, okay, here we go. And I start to tell it, and then, fellas, it hits me like a truck. I realized in just a second that every single one of my stories ends with, and then the cops came. and I don't mean in one fashion or another, or a couple of them. I mean every one. And I started the story, and I stopped, and I was kind of blinking, and I just looked at my son, and he's smiling, waiting, and I looked at my wife, and she's a little puzzled, and I realized there's no story I can tell him that I would want to tell him. Now, they're all about beer and women, but there are nice ways to talk about beer and women, and there are other ways that end with, and then the cops came, and he looked at me, and my wife looked at me, and all I could do was I just held my hand out, we shook hands, and I said, "Gung ho, pal." And my wife looked at me, "What in the world did you just go through?" And God bless him. He's been a great Marine so far. In fact,
Fantastic.
he was deployed, I mentioned, in the Middle East, and I can't asked not to say exactly where, but they were in harm's way. And when he came back, my wife and I were, of course, thought about him every day.
Yeah.
And he wasn't hurt, and thank God they lost someone from the company, but and he was fine when he came back, and it was very sweet to go down and pick him up at the Marine base. Well, here in Southern California, right on the coast, they're loaded with Marine bases, and we were just thrilled. He was fine. What's that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
We didn't say
We
anything.
didn't say anything.
Oh,
Did the cops come?
it's it's one of those stories I should have told. But he was home. He was fine. We were thrilled, of course, for every good reason. And then he said to me, they go through a whole debriefing, and they have to, get back and get reacclimated to where they're going to be and where they're going next.
Right.
And but he was fine, and we were fine, and there wasn't one tiny thing we worried about. And then, right after he finished, the debriefing and everything that he had to go through, about a week and a half of physical and historical things that they had done, he said to me, my wife and I said to him, "Well, what are you doing this weekend? Because we will come down. We'll see you. We'll just come down there and we'll grab a hotel room." And he said, "Well, no. A couple of the fellows from the company and I are going to the St. Patrick's Day parade in San Diego." Then I was terrified. You're serving in war as a Marine, and that was fine.
Yeah.
But going to St. Patrick's Day celebration in the streets of a major city, I thought, well, what are you kidding? Are you out of your mind? And he said to me, "Well, I said, you're probably going to go in and out of every bar they have." And he said, "Well, I am 21, Dad." And I said, I know what you are. I was there for the whole thing. And he turned 21 just before his deployment ended in the Middle East. And they were, by the way, they were all, in that company, they were all 21, and they flew to Dublin, and then from Dublin back to America, back to Southern California. But I remember thinking, perfect place for 21-year-old Marines to go for 3 hours where they have in between flights.
Yeah.
Where are you going to be? Dublin. Oh. Well, as long as I'm not worried about you drinking too much. And they all did that. They had their captain there, gathered them together and said, "All right, fellows, you have 2.5 hours in between flights. So you can't leave the airport or this whole place. You can't leave where the airlines are, where the gates are." But he said, "Now listen, hey, if you're going to go to one of the pubs here, you're allowed 2 drinks." I just spoke to the colonel, and he was the captain, and I spoke to the colonel, and the colonel said, "You can have 2 drinks." My son said to me, even as the captain was saying that, he just looked at all their faces, and I mean, it's just been to a tough deployment in a tough part of the world, and they all just turned 21. He said, "Hey, you can have 2 drinks." And even the captain just muttered, "Ah, the hell with it." Yeah, he knew that even as he was speaking, the captain just said, "Okay, just be back here at 45 minutes before we board the plane." But anyway,
That's funny.
everything is good for comedy in life.
Yes.
If you love being a comic, and if you're made to be a comic, everything is good for it.
Yeah. That was awesome because you just told us a story for 10 minutes and it was nothing but jokes. Like that's one of the amazing things about you.
It's about life. Life is a joke.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know.
I
was trying to say that one of the most admirer things about his art is he
said life is a joke. Joke is life. I thought I got that from you, Larry. Whatever I thought.
That's Ro, that's exactly what it is.
Thank you.
Joke, life, joke, and that's the way it should be.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally. We're still. Wait, what were you gonna say?
No, I'm sorry. I keep talking over you, or
No.
Sort of one of the sound system kind of vanishes.
No, you know what it is I was hooking up the Skype, and right when you called, because you called twice. The first time I accidentally hung up on you, and so maybe I didn't hook it up with clear connection or something. But we should be good now. Can you hear us better?
Oh yeah, no, I hear you just fine. But sometimes I think I'm talking over you, and you're talking over me.
It's been
and the dogs don't mind. They're just lying on the bed now.
Larry, I have a question. What was it? What's it like? Because in all the movies you do, your scenes are always the funniest, and your characters outshine the main characters. Like I'll give you an example for the Nutty Professor. I saw that movie with my grandfather when I was 8 or 9. I thought you outshined Eddie Murphy in every single scene that you did with him, and like that.
Well, first of all, that's awfully nice of you to say, but it's much different. It's good Lord, the work that Eddie Murphy did to do all of those characters, and to be sitting. Good Lord, that was like 4 hours just to get into the fat suit.
Really?
And 2 hours to get out of it. And there was so much work put in on every one of those characters. And when filming, they would have tennis balls on the top of microphone stands or sitting all around, say, the dining room table. Mm-hmm. And so he would play the tennis ball as the faces. So I'll tell you what, boy, that fellow played the heck out of those movies. And in fact, I remember now, Jack Nicholson won Best Actor that year, when the first Nutty Professor came out. And to say the least, Jack Nicholson, good Lord, is a fabulous actor. And in his interview with the press after winning the Oscar, they said something nice and congratulatory, and he said, Nicholson said, that's awfully nice, and thank you, and I'm very glad and very happy about this, but I have to be honest with you. The best actor this year was Eddie Murphy in Nutty Professor.
Oh.
And it was just out of nowhere, and he really meant it. And well, I had to agree with that. That's it. Boy, that acting he did was oh good Lord, acting. It was so good. And by the way, I loved being the dean. Yeah. Because it's not the first dean I've played, but as I've remarked before, well, John Wayne didn't play just one sheriff. And, I loved being that dean. Tom Shadyac, a wonderful director, and he was open to everything, whatever idea. He really nourishes his actors, and whatever you come up with, you can run over and just say to the base camp, which is where all the director and producers sit, and everybody sits there, and the lady holding the script, and you just say, "Hey, how about this? If we stay here and shoot this, you can keep the camera angle there, and for the other part, you can pitch anything." And a couple of them are good ideas, and he would look at me and then just glance over at Jim Brubaker, who was the producer, really knew how to make movies, and they looked at each other. Should we do that? Can we do it now? Do we have enough time before lunch or after anything, after the next shot, to just do that? And a couple of times we did.
Yeah.
Where they can just move in or dolly in close up, and or follow you as you walk down the aisle with everyone there doing their dancing, and boy, it was wonderful. Wonderful making those movies. But you know what, fellas? It's wonderful making any movie. It's not just lip service. I've been in low budget independent movies, many of them, and I've been in. Well, you don't get much higher than, say, Eddie Murphy in the Nutty Professor movies, and
Yeah.
I love being in those Christopher Guest movies. I just love that guy. And I'm telling you, though, every set I've been on, anywhere on location, anywhere just here in Los Angeles, anywhere, I have loved it. When people say to me, for instance, we were on the location, I remember once, and one of the actors said to me at lunch, so we're all sitting at a table, one of the actors said, well, I don't know, I should get some food in my trailer, I guess, because this caterer is terrible. And I looked at him and said, with big cheeks full of food, and I looked at him and said, tastes pretty good to me. And that's the way I've always felt.
That's great. That was really great.
Caterer is bad. What are you talking about? Whether it's been in, as I said, low budget, high budget, it doesn't matter what the budget is. There's someone is going to make some good food, and it's free.
Yeah, it's hard to complain about movie food. I always thought, in the few times that I've been on a set, I never complained about it.
I've never been on a set, so.
Well, I have, and I tell you, and obviously Larry knows that movie food is very good. Don't you? Well, Larry just said that. I think it's very good.
I agree. But you're looking at me
roast beef and
it is true. It's true, and food is terrific. Good Lord, and in between meals, they'll bring around trays of food.
Wow, it's
sort of like waiters at a cocktail party, and they'll bring around trays of food that are, and even those littler things are still, tuna salad sandwiches with everything on it.
Yeah.
And so you want to say, you know what? You can go off campus and get yourself a couple of meatballs somewhere, and that's fine with me, but I believe I'm going to stick with the caterer here.
Good choice.
Larry, do you like Twitter questions? We have some Twitter questions from my Twitter followers.
First of all, let's see. Maybe I'll love these.
Okay. We like to call these fake Twitter questions because they're real questions, but we think the names are fake. You know how so we'll just get into it. Twitter question from Minus Man Paul. Was it hard playing Walter in 10 Things on the series after you did the movie, and did you ever wear the belly for kicks?
You know what? It wasn't hard at all because, the same director, Gil Younger, who made the movie, was working on the series, and he was the one who called me up and say, hey, you know what? Let's do this. You have to do this.
Yeah.
And what a good cast they had. Lindsay Shaw is still one of the best actresses I've ever run into. She played one of my daughters. And but that was great to me to drive there every day, and that was going north into a deep part of the valley to do. And boy, I think we did a good job, and did a couple of seasons on that. And but once again, that's something that I think the movie was very good.
Oh yeah, the movie is one of it's considered one of the best classical romantic comedies. So.
Oh, I think I would agree with that, and not just because I'm in it, but we had a chance to be sweet, to be romantic, to be funny, and to show a family. Remember, everything in any kind of comedy is still based on very basic principles of the relationship of the characters.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, those people, especially those folks in that family, well, virtually everything is written and acted and directed on that premise of they're a family. And we can still make it funny, but everything of, well, she wants to go to college here, and then I'd have to say goodbye to her. And the other one is still doing this. And if you play with that premise, meaning not play with it, change it, but if you work on that premise in your part every day, and you say, hey, wait a minute, I really care about these two girls. They're my daughters.
Yeah.
And my wife in that movie, in that story, my wife just took off. She ran off. And that hurt me, and it hurt the girls. And you know what? If you never lose sight of that, there's always a way to then be funny with it.
Yeah.
That to say, you know, good Lord, here I am. I'm a surgeon and a doctor who knows everything about, well, women and how babies are made and grow, and everything about that. There's a chance to be funny with all of it.
Yeah.
That you realize there's someone in charge when a woman goes in on that stretcher, and the guy in charge was me. So these are all very basic things that are very important, very good principles to go with. And if it's real, it can be funny any different way, but start with making it real.
Yeah. I totally agree. One of my favorite lines in that movie is when you say, yeah, she wasn't so doped up.
And also working with Gil, that was an ad-libbed line.
I could tell. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said I could tell that was ad-libbed because with your humor.
You know, I'm glad you did, but that's another great part of acting when the director works a certain way. The Christopher Guest movies are the same on that. He's a great director. Look, I don't think the world of that guy anyway as an actor and as a dramatic and funny man. He can do it all.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you though, when he does his takes, and those Christopher Guest does takes that are often 1 or 2 or 3 minutes long. That's very long for a take. And what he does is keep talking you through it, and just says, you know what, I like that. Just go back, start there again, and put that in with this and that. And boy, it's just a great way to work. And there are other great ways to work that are just right by the book, right down the line. And if the director thinks that way and sees things that way, that can be terrific too. But you know, I guess I love it all. I guess I'm the happiest guy on Broadway.
Uh-huh. So that wasn't a tough Twitter question, right? That was it.
And once again, the answer: 14 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Well, our second Twitter question is from Princess Diary 01. Larry, is there any chance to bring your one-man show Cocktails into a Netflix special? That's a good question.
Oh, boy, what a good idea. Yeah, it's a great question. What a good idea. I'm writing another one-man show now, in fact. And because, as folks know, the first one did very well. It was called Cocktails with Larry Miller.
Yeah.
And it was in theaters all over America and in Canada, too. And, boy, I love that. I love the whole concept of you're a one-man show, and you're in beautiful theaters. And but so I'm writing another one now. It's gonna take a while. It takes a while to write these things, man. But you guys, it takes me a while.
Yeah.
And thank you, whoever sent that tweet.
It was Princess Diary 01.
It was what?
It was Princess Diary 01.
when those movies were great to the Princess Diary movies. Well, I've loved also Gary Marshall. I was in many of his things. You mentioned Pretty Woman before. That was the first time I met Gary Marshall. He cast me in that. And Dory Zuckerman, the casting woman, brought me in to see him. And we were all happy. And he and I just riffed a little, just improvised on certain things. Yeah. And this is a guy who was open for anything. He was so smart and so funny. Boy, oh boy, that whole Marshall family is. But that Gary Marshall, he asked me once in the Princess Diary movies, in one of those, I think the first one or the second one maybe, but maybe it was the second one. But he said to me, he also cast 2 women to be with me who were pretty women and wearing fancy clothes and only spoke German as characters. And he said to me to learn some German insults I could throw at them. And the cinematographer of that movie, I can't remember his name, but was very well known, very successful. And he was German. He was from Germany. And Gary said to me between takes, go ask Walter there, because he'll give you to say you looking for insults in German. Tell him you want insults in German. I went over to him, and he thought I was being offensive. He thought I was, for some reason, trying to insult him, which is, I would never do that, and that would never happen anyway. And so I said to him, I asked him for things that are don't have to be dirty. We don't want them dirty, but that he says that this character, my character Paolo, would say things that really make these 2 women snap too. And he said he got stiff, and Walter did, and he just very insulted, and he just said, "No, there are no such things. There are no such things in German." And he walked away. And right off the bat, I laughed too when you did, because if there's one culture and language where you think of insulting things being said, I think Germany has to be up there. And
at least the top 3.
So he said that to me. I went over just again about a minute later. I said, "No, Walter, I'm not trying to be insulting. Gary thought that it would be funny if we could do this." No such thing. And
no such thing.
And same thing. And so I went back to the base camp there again. And Gary says, "Did you get from him? And that he will give you good stuff?" I said, "I think not." I didn't get anything from him, because I think he thinks I'm insulting him by that. And Gary just laughed and said, "Oh, I know. Okay, yeah." And he got what it would sound like to Walter. So he said, "Come over here." So I went with him, and Gary then said to Walter, "Listen, this is what I'm looking for, so give it to him now, please." And he's a very nice young man. He's not trying to make fun of you. But so he gave me some stuff, and I used it. But not surprisingly, that was the last time Walter and I chatted on that movie.
Yeah, I like the line where you say, "You want to hear a secret? The cucumbers do absolutely nothing."
Boy, and everything in the Gary Marshall movie, again, what a storyteller he was. But everything could just be turned into something funny.
Yeah.
And off the cuff, or just some of the characters. And he came up with that when he said, "You take your glasses off, and then you crack them because you're upset about this." Because my hairbrush had just broken in her hair that was still like, ape hair, like wolf hair. And so the brush intentionally, as part of the character, just cracks. It could, snaps, pang. And so when I took her glasses off, because she didn't want to, as a character, she didn't want to lose the glasses. And I took them off. I was sitting in the chair, and I just snapped them in two. And she looked at me and said that, "You broke my glasses." And I said to her, "You broke my brush." And
that's a great scene.
And it's a good scene. And you know what? One of the biggest joys of those movies was, if there is any woman on earth who is a natural queen in all ways, it has to be Julie Andrews.
Oh, she's a great one.
Just loved being with her, working with her. She was, what a treat. What a talent.
Yeah.
And we could just yak in between things. She was just a joy. And when she sang on the second movie, she got her voice back enough to sing. She had an operation or something, and she was going to sing again as this character, as the Queen. And I will never forget, because I had an office at Universal also, and so even when I wasn't working on it, I would always come by the set of the movie, either so just hang out there in the trailers and at base camp. But I came to see her sing, to stand behind the sets, to stand at base camp there, and to watch her sing, because it was very moving. And do you know that all the biggest people at Universal, and these are some tough people, and another 6 or 7 of those folks all came by too, for the same reason, just to quietly stand there and watch Julie Andrews sing again.
Wow.
And that I noticed that, and I was with them, and I remember thinking, boy, that's very moving to watch Julie Andrews, but it's very touching also to see a lot of these big shots come down for the same reason.
Yeah. That must have been quite a feeling. Mr. Miller, I'm not trying to change the subject, but I gotta be respectful to your time, and you've gone way over. So is there a place there folks can find you on Facebook or Twitter?
Yes. First of all, there's I love podcasting, and I have a show myself, the Larry Miller Show.
We listen to it,
and that's the website is. It's a show. It shows how dumb I am about things. When I promote it on the air, or even just now, it still takes me 5 seconds to remember what the name of it is.
Yeah.
And I mean to say, it's the website, and this is the website. It's LarryMillerPodcast.com, and I'm very proud of it, and I love the whole forum. That's why I was looking forward to meeting you guys like this. Terrific forum.
Thank you so much.
So good you come on.
I know it's hard to do LA on a 7 o'clock with traffic, but I mean, thank you so much for taking time to phone us in and stuff.
And I wanted to say,
guys,
yeah.
Until we meet officially,
yes,
on a set somewhere, or anywhere,
and we won't leave this set without having the meal there with you.
You'll like it as you never have before.
Larry Miller, thank you so much.
Larry Miller, thank you.
It.
Wow.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, pal.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.
That's not really.
Wow. Larry Miller, guys.
What a party. You know what? I'm going to tell you something right now.
I thought it was cool how he just called and we couldn't even get to the opening remarks.
This is
jumped right into it.
No, this is a party. I told you.
Awesome.
How many times have I told you that what is happening here? This is not just a regular podcast. This is a party.
That's like your new slogan.
It is. It is. I believe it.
Party.
It is. I like to party.
It was fun.
I love to party with these people. They're wonderful. Man. I didn't get to my.
We only got to 2 Twitter questions.
I think.
But I found the pattern on the Twitter, on the fake Twitter questions. They were each the name of a movie that he did. Oh. Princess Diaries and the Minus Man.
Okay.
And then sure. The other Twitter questions, we can't say them, but kiss bang, kiss bang.
Kiss, kiss, bang, bang.
Yeah, but the Twitter question was...
they actually used the title and they broke it up. Oh, interesting.
I thought that was actually original. Mm-hmm. And then Earl Redburn, who I think he played a character named Earl. And Undercover Haley Blues, where he was in the movie Undercover Blues, and he played a character named Haley.
He thought very highly of Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah,
Because you know what? I actually do remember
Jack Nicholson
saying that. And I remember I said that's a comedy because when he said it, I think he was on the podium. And when he said it, what struck me was that he was talking about a comedy movie that he thought the actor, was so good,
because he played 6 different.
Yeah. So
it may have came off wrong.
No.
But I wasn't insulting Murphy. I was saying that in the scenes that Larry were in, I felt he took control of the funny.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say. I hope Larry found that.
Well, if we get a call, one of these days, and you and I are on the comedy circuit, and then they say, well, Eddie was in here, and he was listening to that podcast where you said he couldn't act worth a damn.
I didn't say that.
And he says he would never be on this. You know these comedians, how cruel they can be. Say, you hear what Keith said about you that night
I didn't
with Larry
say that at all.
No, I'm just saying these comedians can be. You know how they are.
Yeah, because he did go off on Spade once.
Yeah, so they says, well, I'm not going to be on that podcast. If Keith thinks my acting sucks, screw him.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just joking.
We're
just joking.
I hope
this is my partner. I love you.
And then the Mr. Johnson thing.
You know what? I swear to God, I didn't. I thought you were making some kind of joke.
I was making a joke
about
because
Johnson.
That
could have gone. That could have gone another way.
That's what I was trying to do.
You know what a Johnson.
And then when you gave me
really? Were you thinking that? Because I sort of said, no, you're not doing that.
I was totally thinking that. I was trying to be respectful, and I used Johnson because it's what we were talking about. And then you gave me the look of death. I was like, oh no, God, maybe he doesn't think it's funny.
No. I was trying to say, I couldn't understand what
I took a risk as a comedian to try a joke with my favorite comedian ever. Yeah. And
you were trying to be like Leslie Nielsen with the fart.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That's what he set up that story, I think.
That I tell you, between your Johnson and the little thing in his hand, I swear to God, you know what? I'm going to buy one now. I feel like I'm stealing material.
But I feel like Mr. Miller hates me now.
Oh no. He said no. Wait a minute. He said, hope to see you on the set.
No. But I'm just like saying how, and then like the Eddie Murphy thing. But man,
it's Eddie that we got to fear now.
Yeah. Now I'm running from Eddie Murphy.
No. We'll call him. You call him.
Call Eddie Murphy
because you're the one.
I have no contact.
You owe him an apology.
You're such a jerk.
It'd be funny that next week he's here. He says, "Yeah, I heard."
That actually might happen. Matthew Modine was here before us.
Oh, and Isai Morales.
Yeah, like I got starstruck when I saw Matthew Modine.
And you know who you didn't see, by the way? Oh my God! You know who was here as well? And I saw her, and I said, "Thank you very much." Francesca Fisher, the former wife of Clint Eastwood, who was at the event that I went in West Hollywood. I love that event. She said, "Oh, you were there." It was so cool. Francesca Fisher.
Yeah.
She was in the movie, the Western.
She was
The Unforgiven.
Yeah.
She was the
She was married to Clint.
Yeah.
Clint, yeah.
Remember, she was Unforgiven. The beat her and all that.
Yeah.
She was right at the door. You didn't see her.
Yeah, because I was too busy looking at Matthew Modine and just.
Yeah, you were gaga over Matthew Modine. I thought that was cool, but
yeah.
I was gaga over Isai.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, gave me this firm handshake. He's running for national president of Screen Actors Guild, and as I told you last weekend, I lied. I didn't pay my dues.
Yeah, it was weird that all these screen actors were in the studio
because
they're voting and
then
does
I'm
the
struggling.
Thing say Martin Sheen was here too? Did we see Martin Sheen?
No.
Oh no, he's just on the ballot.
No, dude, no, that we didn't see that.
Oh
no, he was not here.
But he is on the ballot. Right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think he is on the ballot because someone was saying Martin Sheen, and I was too gaga over Matthew Modine.
There's 40 people you got to look at. Oh my God, you got it right. 72.
Yeah.
72.
72.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you're out there voting. Martin Sheen is running.
Number 72. And you should vote for him because he's Charlie Sheen's dad. He's got my vote.
I'm voting for Isai Morales.
All right, guys. Once again, thank you so much to the funniest guy in the world,
Larry
Miller, man. And you can check out his podcast at www.larrymillerpodcast.com. Alan Lee, we got to wrap it up. Do you have anything quickly next week?
No. I'm relaxing. I'm writing. I'm relaxing. I'm in my little place that I live in, and I'm very happy. I just walk to the grocery store, get my bottle, and then I go home and I just try to write, and I play games on Facebook, as you know.
Yeah.
You don't do that. You're so committed. You are a comics comic.
No, Larry.
Yeah.
Comics comic is Larry Miller.
That is Larry Miller. You're not Larry Miller.
No, I wish I was. Sam just gave me a light, and I think we should leave on a very funny quote. Cucumbers don't do anything.
Look at that.
All right, guys. Cute. I'm Keith Reza, Alan Lee, one and only. See you next week.
Yeah.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on